I don't know why I feel the need to sing. Hello. Hello, we are live, everyone. And that was my daughter in the background saying she also doesn't understand why I need to sing. She's making a special appearance by voice tonight. So, hello, daughter, who's also feeling like mommy does not need to sing. But, I'm over here doing what I need to do. Hello, everyone who is joining. I am going to give it a couple minutes as people come together. But if you are joining me on YouTube, welcome. And if you are joining me on Instagram, also welcome. Let me get myself together here so that I can see the comments. And I've got some things that I want to read. And I think we're going to have a pretty good conversation tonight. Oh, Jesus Christ. And of course, I didn't drop the thing on the table. Of course I did. Of course I didn't drop the thing on the table. Here we go. Yeah, I'm good now. Sorry, I'm not trying to see the comments at the same time because I have the cameras all the way on the other side. And so I need to see what you're seeing on YouTube, and I can see what people are seeing on Instagram and YouTube. Anywho, welcome. This is going to be an interesting discussion because I don't know if it's a discussion that we often have. Again, the purpose of this show is to change the conversation around Black relationships. And part of changing the conversation around Black relationships is having discussions that we might not normally have amongst each other, but I think it's necessary. And also letting you into my life. I've always done that since the beginning of the show. And as I have been on this single journey, I have been learning a lot more about myself. My last relationship was the most intense relationship I've ever had in my life. And that's, some people might think that's sad considering I was also married, but it was a very intense relationship. Things moved very quickly. There was a lot of things that we were able to pack into almost 3 years together. I think it was also COVID, right? Like, I think so many things happened in COVID. Like, COVID felt like 1 year felt like 3. And so I think if you were together during COVID or started anything during COVID, it just seemed like it was just the longest time of your life. So there's been a lot I have been learning about myself. And one of the things that I started really thinking about was emotional availability. And what does that really mean? What does it mean to be emotionally available or emotionally unavailable? And how does that impact how you navigate your relationship or singlehood or dating or whatever's going on? And so I wanted to have this discussion tonight, and I wanted to kind of talk about 5 signs of what they say to make you emotionally unavailable. And what does that mean for you day to day? Like, if you're emotionally unavailable, does it mean that you don't date? I mean, that's really the question I have. Emotional unavailability plus dating, right? Like, can they coexist? Can you know that you're emotionally unavailable but still date? And what does that mean with the person that you are dating? If you're saying to someone, I'm emotionally unavailable, and they still want to pursue you, what does that mean? What does that look like? And is there a point where you just have to say, you know what, for the sake of this person, I just need to not move forward and just be by myself because I can't give people what they want? My hair is being an asshole tonight. I literally just spent time doing all this stuff. Anywho, so I'm going to read you the definition of what they say it means to be emotionally unavailable. And I don't know if I'm going to actually read you a couple of things that they say about being emotionally unavailable. I don't know if I agree with all of it, and so I'm going to question some of this. So the first thing they're saying is being emotionally unavailable describes someone who's not open to discussing or sharing their feelings. When a person is emotionally unavailable, it means that they're unwilling or unable to manage the emotional aspects of a relationship. And I'm going to disagree with that one, because I think emotionally unavailable to me is a state of being. It does not mean it's a characteristic that you're going to have, that you're going to carry through for the rest of your life. I think that there are definitely people who are not tapped into their emotions, but I can say that at this point, my name is Toshiba and I'm emotionally unavailable. Have I always been emotionally unavailable? No. Am I currently emotionally unavailable? Yes. Why am I emotionally unavailable? Because I recently ended a relationship with a man that I thought I was going to spend forever with, and a man that was like my ideal perfect man in height, in stature, in intelligence, in comedic. Like, we laughed together. Like, I was going to do forever with him. And when you go from your ideal man, we were not perfect. Nothing about the relationship was perfect. But in my mind, I had conjured up the man that I have visualized and that was on my vision board. Again, he was 6'9". He was handsome as all heck. He was intelligent. He was resilient. He had really great characters. Now, there are some characteristics I didn't love that I ignored. But if you were to say, if you looked on my vision board, he was basically on it. So I conjured him up in my mind, and we were going to do forever together. And then I had to walk away from that and cancel a wedding and all of the different things that I was going to do. And so, yes, I'm very emotionally unavailable to any person who might want to come into my life right now. Is this where I'm going to potentially be a month from now, 2 months from now, 6 months from now? Likely not. It's part of the healing process. And so for me, this definition that they're just not, I'm not open to discussing or sharing my feelings. I'm actually very open to sharing my feelings. Hello. This show that I'm sharing my feelings, I'm very much sharing my feelings with people in my life. My close friends know exactly how I'm feeling, right? I have close people to me who I'm very clear, as I've been going through this roller coaster ride of life recently, are very clear about this is where I am. So I'm not emotionally devoid of feelings, but I am in a place where I can't bring anybody new into my life and give them any more than I have right now, because I do not have a lot to give anybody else. All I got is me. Like, this is the time of Sheba, and Sheba is about Sheba. That's my nickname for those of you who didn't know. Sheba is about Sheba, and if you want more from me, like, I'm right now, I'm tapped out. Like, I'm tapped out. I have nothing to give you. I have nothing. There's nothing. I've got nothing. I am bringing myself back up to a point where I have more to give, but I have nothing to give anybody right now. If they want something emotional out of me, it's not that, again, I'm not able to, what does this say? Unable to share my feelings or tap into my feelings, discussing or sharing my feelings. I just have nothing for you. Because I spent almost 3 years with a man that I gave everything to. And it takes a second. It takes a second to build everything back up. Little girl, it takes a second to build things back up. And so it's always interesting. And this is why they talk about rebound relationships, right? Like, there's no way you spend 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years in an intense relationship with someone, and then you turn around and you're in a new relationship like a month or two later. How? I don't know how it happens, because how do you download everything that happened in that relationship, deal with everything that happened in a relationship, and ready yourself to give somebody else everything that they deserve from you? And that's what I would say. Right now, I can't give anybody anything they want. I can't. If a man wants more than hanging out and chilling, I have nothing. Like, I have nothing. I have nothing for that person, because I am still trying to replenish everything that I had given to someone else. And for me, that has what's made me emotionally unavailable. So I will say that this first one here, for me personally, is someone who is very much clear that I'm emotionally unavailable. I wouldn't say that that definition fits me. Here's another way that someone describes being emotionally unavailable. They say when someone is emotionally unavailable, we mean that they are not comfortable feeling their own emotions, sharing emotions with others, or being present and responsive to someone else's emotion. Now, I will say that that last sentence is me being present and responsive to someone else's emotions. That's when I realized I was emotionally unavailable because I didn't care about other people's feelings. At this point right now, I have nothing for you. I got nothing. And it's not because I'm mean or cruel. I genuinely care about people, but at this moment right now, I have nothing because again, I spent almost 3 years with who I thought was the man of my dreams, and I gave him everything. And now being, I don't know, almost 6 months out of that relationship, to think that I can have replenished myself and everything that I gave to that relationship, and I'm ready to, I've got nothing. And I'm honest, and I think that's where, as I've been going through this cycle, this period in my life, I have been very self-aware. I've been very self-aware, and I've attempted to communicate that to people in my life. And it's funny, I have an ex, we've known each other since we were in our late teens, early 20s. We dated twice actually. And after 20 plus years, we are still friends. And we happen to have broken up with our significant others about a month apart. Like, he was in the beginning of June, I was at the end of June. And I remember him and I just talking, and that's something that he kept saying. Women are trying to kind of come into his life now that he's not with his significant other that he was with for 5 years. And again, just like my ex, they were planning a life together and what their life would look like. And some things happened and they're not together anymore. But there are women who are trying to be like, hey, I'm here. And he's like, yo, Sheba, I don't see them because I'm not emotionally available. And I'm telling these people I'm not emotionally available, and they're still trying to make a presence in my life. And to me, it's like, listen to what people are saying to you. Because if someone can only give you what they have to give right now, trying to push them to give you more is not going to happen. And sometimes, you know what? We then turn around and say that someone's being an asshole. They were being so mean. They led me on. They did all of that. But I think people who are emotionally unavailable, I think they're honest about that. And you can tell, and I'm going to go through 5 signs. There was an article I won't lie, I didn't read the full article, so we're actually going to read some of it together because I wanted to surprise myself, because again, realizing just from myself the fact that I was just so emotionally unavailable, I really needed to figure out what I was going to do to help myself get to a place where I can be emotionally available for someone again. And so I wanted to see what these signs are that they were talking about of emotional unavailability. So I guess part of it is, and I'd love to hear people's thoughts, if someone is emotionally unavailable, should they be dating? Should they spend time with someone else knowing that they don't really have much to give them? Because I think it's an interesting place, because dating has taken on so many forms right now, right? Like, dating to me is going out with somebody, having a good time. It doesn't have to even involve sex, right? Like, dating doesn't always involve sex. It's 2 people getting to know each other, figuring out if they're like each other, figuring out if, they can stand each other's company. Is there some stuff that they can learn from each other? That's dating. And you can date, and you should date. You should date multiple people at once. That is not a committed relationship. Dating is the getting to know you phase of determining whether or not somebody can inhabit your orbit, and if this is someone that you can tolerate for long periods of time. But you can't, dating one person at a time is, I don't recommend it. I do not recommend also, I'm not saying sleep with multiple people at a time, because as for those of you who've been watching this show, y'all know my legs are closed. They've been closed since I left Phoenix, Arizona in March, and I'm not planning to reopen them anytime soon, because again, I'm emotionally unavailable, and sex is an emotional thing, and it's not something that I care to do with someone that I have no emotional ties to, or don't have emotional ties to me. So what is the point of that? Like, it's actually going to take this journey of healing that I am on. It's going to bring me backwards. It does not make sense to move forward knowing that that's the space I'm in. However, you know, sex aside, does it make sense if you know that you are emotionally unavailable to date? I would love to hear people's thoughts on that. YouTube, let me know in the chat. The same with Instagram. Let me know in the comment section here. Does it make sense for someone who has recognized and owns the fact they're emotionally unavailable? Should they even be dating? And if you think no, they shouldn't be dating, when do you think it's time for them to start dating? So as you guys are thinking about that, let me go through the signs, the 5 signs that they say of people who are emotionally unavailable. So I'm going to start with this. Being emotionally unavailable may look different depending on the situation, but the common theme is that dealing with emotions is a challenge. Here are some important signs that tell you someone is emotionally unavailable. Number 1, they avoid intimacy. Someone who's emotionally unavailable may fear intimacy, sharing their innermost feelings and thoughts with you. Discomfort with vulnerability leads some people to distance themselves from their own emotional experiences, which makes it almost impossible to engage with others in a way that has emotional intimacy and depth. Okay, I'm like trying to quickly read this as I'm talking to you. Painful emotions or emotions that make someone feel emotionally vulnerable are particularly challenging for someone who is emotionally unavailable. I'm just gonna go back to the first part. It's discomfort with the vulnerability leads some people to distance themselves from their own emotional experiences. Vulnerability isn't something that comes easy to a lot of people, because I will tell you, for me personally, I will not speak for any of you. For me personally, it is letting someone into a space that only a few reside. It is making you see my scars. In my book, No Handouts for Black Girls, I talk about falling in love with my ex, and how when I fell in love with my ex, it was if I was standing in front of him naked with my heart in my hand, handing it to him and hoping he doesn't drop it. That for me was what loving him felt like. It was stripping myself down of everything. We all know, you know what, being naked is the purest form that we can be on. That for a lot of us ladies, I know women who've talked about, like, they have, you know, relations with the lights off because they don't want a man to even see their body, because a lot of us have insecurities. I know I have them, insecurities about our bodies, right? And so for me, when I was writing that book and I was talking about that love that I had for him, this visual of me standing there naked with my heart, the thing that keeps me alive, in my hand, and then giving that to him and praying he doesn't drop it, because if that thing drops, I'm over. That is kind of the visual I saw for the love that I had for that man. And so stepping away from that relationship that was so intense, it was such an intense relationship, and we had done so much and we had planned so much. Stepping away from that, I am not in a place that I am ready to do that with anyone else. Because for me, that is vulnerability. It's stripping myself of all of the things that I adorn myself with and you seeing in my purest form and me saying, I hope you love me anyway because I'm going to give you everything I have. And that's my heart, the thing that keeps me alive. And so being in a space right now where I can give that to someone, no. I ain't got nothing for you. I have nothing. And it's not that it's an all or nothing situation, just so we're clear. It isn't like I either do that or I am like, cold. Where's the song? There's a ice box where my heart used to be. That's absolutely not what I'm saying, right? However, for me, it's like there are levels to that. And I'm not even at a point where I'm at step 1 of whatever that level would be to where that might be step 10. I'm not even I am trying to have fun, enjoy life, realize that I am closer to death than I am to birth, and really plan out what my life is going to look like and where I want to be and the things that I want to experience. And I'm not in a space where I'm ready to be standing in front of no man naked, handing him my heart. And will I get there? Absolutely. Will there be a man who comes in my life that forces me to maybe speed up this healing? Probably. But I can say that I'm not there right now. So that first sentence really hit me. Okay, sign number 2. And I realize, just go back to the avoiding intimacy. That is why my legs are closed. Like March 14th. So what are we? April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So almost 9 months. And intimacy for me isn't just about sex. It's about closeness. It's about, again, having somebody see you in a purest form. It's, if you have guards, letting your guards down. I don't think I have guards. That's the one thing. I went through therapy. Hallelujah. I don't think I have guards up, but I am definitely in a space of I'm about me and I'm not willing to give to you. Because intimacy requires me to give to you, and I'm just not ready to do that because this is the time of Sheba. And so I think that is definitely one of the places that I'm in, as I think there's a reason that it's been 9 months, almost 9 months and counting, because it's just something that I'm not ready to give of myself, that intimate part of me. So number 2, to recognize whether you are emotionally unavailable or the person you're with is emotionally unavailable, is they avoid commitment. Commitment is often difficult for someone who is emotionally unavailable. For instance, they may put off labeling your romantic relationship or initiating a next step, such as moving in or proposing marriage. Fear of commitment and fear of getting too close are 2 common signs of an emotional unavailable man and woman. Emotionally unavailable partners might prefer having casual relationships with multiple people or may end relationships if things are getting too serious. In a friendship, the person may be hesitant to make plans or might cancel those often. They may also become evidently uncomfortable if you express love for them or treat them as a confidant. Again, going back to this first one, they may put off labeling your romantic relationship or initiating a next step. That's a big one. And here's something that we need to consider. And this is going to be harsh for maybe a lot of people. Sometimes the person is simply emotionally unavailable to you. Is it that I'm emotionally unavailable, or is it that I haven't met someone that I care to have my emotions available to? because I know how strong my emotions are. And when I give you everything, what that's like. And I won't lie, for me, it can be draining because I give so much. If you were around when this show started, my ex used to talk about just how much I bring to his life and how much I do for him. And there was a point where literally all he had to do was breathe on his own. I took care of every facet of what that man needed, from clipping his toenails, his toes. I learned how to cut his hair. I lotioned his skin. Like, I just did everything for him. I, picked his clothes up. I ironed his clothes. Like, I bought his clothes. There was a point where it was just like, you know what? Like, I will just take care of, any of the needs that you have. I'm going to anticipate them and make sure that they are taken care of. And that can take a lot out of a person. And so I know if I'm going to open up my emotions to someone, what that might mean for me. And it could be that I just haven't met a person that makes me want to take that step. And so the question for those of you who are with someone who might meet, because that second one there is a big one. When someone is with you and they don't want to put a label on a relationship or make that move or make that next step that you think is a natural next step in this relationship that you're having, is they just don't want to be with you. They're not emotionally available for you. It honestly could just not be that they're emotionally unavailable. They're not emotionally available for you, because they may be like me, that they recognize that if you were to tap into that part, like if they tap into that part of themselves, it can be a very taxing thing. Sometimes giving so much of yourself, and listen, things, I never regret it to the people that I give it to. I do not regret giving this to my ex. I loved him from the top of his head to the bottom of his athletic feet. Man had athlete's feet. Listen, he, like, again, I took care of his feet. I know what a damn one looked like, right? So, like, I don't regret any of it, but I also know that giving it again, it's exhausting. And I keep saying to people, I only have one more time to give that much of myself to someone. So until a person comes around that I feel is someone that, again, even if I were to lose them, I would be okay with have given them that. I'm not there with anyone. So you really want to think about, if you are the person who's emotionally unavailable, stop wasting that person's time. If you haven't told them that you're emotionally unavailable, and therefore you are setting them up for potential success, because if they know and you're open and saying that I'm just not in a place where I can move maybe at the speed that you're at, but I'm happy to hang out and happy to whatever we're doing, but it might take me a second. Like, if you're dealing with someone who's like that, then great, they're open. But if you are a person who knows that you're just never going to give somebody what it is that they need, but you haven't expressed that, leave that person alone. And if you're on the other side of that and you're seeing some of those signs, walk away. You can still be friends, right? Like, you can still save if you think that you've got something special, and maybe one day they will be available to you. But if they're not now, I would say don't waste your time. I actually said that to guys. I've said to guys, and they either, some people love me or hate me for my honesty. I've said to people, you're wasting your time with me. Don't waste your time with me. Don't waste your money, and don't waste your time with me. Because at this point where I'm at, like, I've got nothing for you. And if you do decide that you want to pursue me, just understand what I just told you. And don't look at me a month or two or whatever from now and say she wasted my time, because I was very clear with you about where I was. And if you're okay with holding on, then that's on you. But if you're not, like, I say go find someone who can give you what you want. And I think for me, that's why that first one was like, oh, I don't express my emotions. I very much express my emotions. I don't want to waste someone's time because I don't want them to waste mine. That is the worst feeling in the world, is that you have wasted time on something or someone. I don't ever want someone to feel like they've wasted time with me. I do want someone to feel like they've had fun with me. I brought them peace. I know that was something that was big for my ex, this feeling of peace. I want to know that I brought peace to someone's life, but I definitely don't want to feel like I've wasted someone's time. And so I'll be the first one to say to someone, you know what, like, if this is what you're looking for, like, I'm just not there. So do not waste your time, because I don't know if I'll ever get there with you. So that's important. Number 3 of the signs to determine if someone could potentially be emotionally unavailable is this: they get defensive easily. Someone who is emotionally unavailable rarely initiates conversation that involve discussing relationship dynamics, hurt feelings, or requests for behavioral changes. An emotionally unavailable partner also tends to respond in a defensive way, or they might blame you or someone else for their problems. They find trusting others challenging, and this may lead them to emotional detachment as well. Living detached and distrustful is actually a sign of a cluster of personality disorders. These conditions could lead someone to become emotionally unavailable. For me, I won't say that I get defensive, but I'm trying to find the best word to describe the space that I'm in right now. I am nonchalant isn't quite the word. It's not that I'm nonchalant. It's just that I'm like, I'm definitely not empathetic to when people start talking to me about feelings. If I've told you that I'm emotionally unavailable, I don't care about your feelings. And it's not even a disrespectful way, and it's not even because I have a show called Fuck Your Feelings. It's just because I'm in a space where that is taxing. I think for me, hearing about other people's emotions right now is taxing. I'm taxed out. I was fresh off of dealing with my father's passing. Then I left, the man that I had lived with for over 2 years. And then, basically 3.5 months later, we ended our relationship and our marriage that was supposed to happen. And there was a lot of starting over in my life. And so I've had to divert a lot of the emotions to what I had put into that relationship to do all of the other things that required my attention. And so when someone brings me something that I glean to be even remotely emotional, I'm like, I don't want to be taxed. Like, your emotions are about to tax me, and I'm protecting myself because if I have to divert from what I have to get, I just don't want to do it. And I also, spent almost 3 years with a man, and it wasn't that my ex did have a lot of emotions, but he was just, such a secure man that nothing really bothered him. He was just unbothered. That was the best way to describe, my ex. He was unbothered. And I can imagine when you've lived your life tall and handsome, not a lot of things bother you. So I loved his very unbothered attitude. There was not much things I could do that would ever bother him or take him out of character or anything. And I respond very well to that, because as someone who sometimes I'm like, like, this is about to tax me. And I think it's not because and I'm just gonna speak for myself. It's not because I don't care. It's because I actually care too much. And when someone starts telling me things, I try to put myself in their shoes and then try to figure out how I would feel if I was in their situation. And then I really actually start to feel the feelings, and I don't want to do that. Like when you're in a space where you're just emotionally unavailable, you don't like, that's work, and that's not work I'm ready to put in to anything or anyone. I'm just like, I don't care. Like, just be unbothered. Like, I just want someone. Again, my ex was a prototype for a lot of the things that I wanted in a man. And as I sit here with you, I'm just gonna be honest. I don't know when I'll be ready to be with anybody else. He wasn't perfect, and he wasn't even perfect for me, but he was a lot of the things that I wanted in many ways. And of course, being 6'9" and handsome and smart as a whip really helped. And how do you go from that to whatever else is out there? I'm not ready, and I would rather be alone than to. It's not for me. And you guys are getting like true, authentic, like real raw this moment. Love it or hate it, but this is what you're getting. Number 4 of the signs to say that someone it may not be emotionally available is this. Hey twins. They aren't available, period. If you tell them you need them, emotionally unavailable people tend to run the other way. Sometimes they literally are nowhere to be found when you're going through a rough time or simply want to talk. Or they might stick around, but they'll tend to minimize your emotions. They could also try to change the subject or just withdraw from an emotional conversation. Someone who's emotionally unavailable might also persistently want to keep topics light even when you tell them that you need to vent or need advice. That's me. If you start like outside of my child, because I gave birth to her, and my very best friends who are basically my sisters and like people truly close to me, like if you, like again, I have to give you something I don't have. I have to, I can listen. I have time to listen. But if you want me to feel, or if you want a reaction from me, or if you want me to care, ain't got nothing for you. Nothing. Like I literally have nothing. I will listen. I will hear you. And I listen to understand, not to respond. That's a very big thing for me. I believe that we need to listen to understand. And I can understand where you are coming from. And I can hear you out. And I can probably give you advice about it. But if you want me to, like, if you want me to feel something right now, I've got nothing for you. Nothing. Got nothing. And I'm not cold, I'm not distant, I'm not aloof. I just don't have anything for you. And I think sometimes we have to be okay with that. Like we have to be okay. Like I think we sometimes expect a lot out of people when they don't have anything to give us. I don't know if you've known anybody who's ever gone through a divorce or gone through like a really tumultuous breakup, or even ended a friendship, or lost a job that they loved and their life has changed. To expect them now to have stuff to give you, like really, like if I think about my life in the last, since my father passed away September 2022, we're in December 2023, so we're about 15 months. I lost my father. I left a place where, I was very warm and secure with the man that I thought was going to be my last love. So I lost my first love. The man I thought was my last love helped me get through that. We then get back from all dealing with all of that, and then our relationship starts to show minor cracks. To try to fix what I thought were minor cracks, we made the decision, and it was mostly me, that I needed to be away from where I was because I needed my friends and my family, and to reboot, and I couldn't do that there. And so I got up and left, and I had to resort my life. And then in the midst of doing that relationship we decided it was best that we walk away and do other things. And so I had to deal with the fact that, again, a man that I thought I was going to have forever with, and then I got a new job, and then I'm in a new place, and just, there's a lot of things that I'm like recalibrating in my life in 50 months. And so sometimes you just got to meet people where they are. And we have to be okay with the fact that sometimes people have nothing for you. I am a great listener. I give great advice. I am there. But if you want more from me and then you don't get it, I got nothing for you. I'm not even saying I'm sorry, because I'm not. I've got nothing for you. Nothing. And it's not that I'm not being, I can sympathize, I can probably empathize, but what I can't do is allow you to tap into my emotions and give something that I am just trying to figure out. And I'm honest. And so I've been questioning, even for myself, like, girl, if this is where you're at, do you really date? And does that make sense? So there's a part of me is like, okay, that's where you're at. So does dating make sense? But then there's the other side of me. It was like, well, dating is the only way that I'm going to get out of this space. Not really get out of this space, but dating is the only way to navigate what I'm going through. But then the other side, on the other side of the other side, it's like, well, if a man came into your life that fit everything that you were looking for, would that change? Would all of a sudden the fact that you, again, don't want to give to person A or B, person C comes into your life and you're willing to give them what you're not giving person A or B, or what you thought you couldn't give person A or B because whatever the reasons, right? And so I think I think there's a journey that we have to go through. And I'm always going to say this about like showing ourselves grace, right? Like, show yourself grace. No one knows your journey. No one knows what you're going through. We all know social media is fake, right? Like, this whole thing is fake. Like, you have no idea when I get off of this, whether I cry into my pillow and my life is just a hot damn mess, right? Because we curate our lives. I curate my life. Like, I'm never gonna sit here and cry to you guys. Like, I'm gonna put on a strong face, and I'm gonna put on a face. I'm not. There's only been twice that I came on here without no makeup, and that's immediately after I broke up with my ex. And I mean, I still looked great, but like, even that, I made sure my hair was like, it was a whole thing. Like, this is all fake. A lot of this is fake, right? A lot of this is fake. And so show yourself some grace when you're going through some stuff. And don't make anybody make you feel like you have to do something that you may not be ready for. And that is one thing that I promised myself, is like, I'm not going to let anybody push me into anything that I am not ready for. Relations, that's what I call sex. My daughter's in the room. She's a grown woman, but I still say relations. But relations, again, almost 9 months and counting. I'm good. Like, I'm not there, so no. Trying to get into a relationship, dating, putting labels on things. I definitely don't. I don't want anybody putting any kind of label on me. Like, that's one thing right now. If someone tried to be like, oh, do you want to be my girlfriend? Absolutely not. like, do you even want to seriously date? No. I don't want to do any of those. And as much as I desire a relationship, I wouldn't have anything to give a relationship right now. I would love a relationship. My ideal goal was to have my second and final marriage by the time I was 45. I just turned 44 like 2.5 weeks ago. It was my goal, 2 weeks, I guess. It was my goal to be married by 45. And quite frankly, I was there with my ex. I was going to get married. My wedding date was a month and a day before what would have been my 45th birthday. And so would I still love that? Would I love my wedding to be a month and a day for my 46, so I still get married by the time I am 45? Absolutely. But I'm in a space right now, if someone came to me and said, I want you to be with me and we should be exclusive, I'd be like, oh my God, no. I'd run in the next direction. I have nothing to give you. I have nothing to give you that you're going to want. I have time. I have fun. I have laughs. I have jokes. I am a good time. But I ain't got nothing else to give you. And if you're okay with that, cool. And I think if more of us were honest about that, I really think it would break down some of this tug of war that we're having. Because as women, let's not act like we're not also emotionally unavailable. And some women wrap that up in other things. And some of them don't do what I'm doing. They do the very opposite, where they're just out there giving up their vajayjay to any man that they feel is cute, and every man that they're dating, to show that they're hardcore and they can do what men do and all that stuff. But that generally doesn't work, because often what you end up with is a broken heart and a swollen belly when you're done with that, because you were trying to be hardcore and you actually fell for someone, but you started out the relationship talking about, like, I'm good and I don't need anything and this is just sex, but sex is tied to emotions. And so now you were quote unquote emotionally unavailable. Now you get and you're in someone's orbit, and the pheromones and all of those things have come together, and now you caught feelings and he's still over there on the we're just friends with benefits or whatever. And again, some of you are leaving with broken hearts and swollen bellies after that. So that I was like, I'm not going to do that part. No, thank you. I'm going to be good. So I'm just going to kind of keep myself over here. Anyways, I'm rambling. So I'm going to go to the number 5 of signs that someone might be emotionally unavailable. And that is, they might not empathize with your feelings. I am definitely there. I actually don't give 2 fucks about people's feelings right now. Not 2, not a half a fuck. I give 0 fucks. I actually give negative 100 fucks. Because I understand that other people's emotions are taxing for me. And I don't want to be taxed. And so as much as I can understand people, as much as I can hear them out, again, I have nothing for you in terms of empathy. I will listen. I will take in what you have to say. But if you expect more from me, I've got nothing. But let me read this. Because they tend to turn off emotions and have poor insight, people who are emotionally unavailable might also exhibit low empathy, the inability to understand or share someone else's feelings. In other words, an emotionally unavailable person may not be able to relate to you, put themselves in your shoes, or consider your feelings when making a decision. This doesn't mean that they don't care about your feelings, which is what I just said, but they might not have the emotional capability to identify and honor your needs. I am going to pause there and repeat that. This doesn't necessarily mean they don't care about your feelings, but they might not have the emotional capacity to identify and honor your needs. That's it for me. It's your need of me. I very much care about your feelings, but I don't have, you're going to need something from me, and I don't have what you need right now to give, because I need every bit of emotion that you require from me. I need it from myself, because generally emotional unavailability comes from loss of some kind. Losing my dad was one of the most devastating things to ever happen in my entire life. My father was my superhero. My father was my everything. In my mind, my father walked on water until he didn't. And so to lose my father and go through the emotions that felt, and think about everything my father was going to miss in my life, and question whether I had made him proud, and think about, oh my God, if I had just made different decisions, he could have been a part of these things. Like, I had gone through all of these different things of losing my father. And there was a lot of emotions that went into that. And then I go from that into, again, my relationship slowly crumbling, and leaving the safety of the men I had been with for over 2 years, who had vowed to protect me and show me his best and give me everything, and walking away from that, and eventually us deciding to end the relationship and end the dream of him being my last love. Because again, he just helped me bury my first love. And he was supposed to be my last love. And now I'm back, and you expect me to give you or care about your needs? I don't have it in me. I don't. I got nothing for you. And it really truly means, it doesn't mean I don't care. I actually care a lot. Again, I will repeat that. I care a lot, but I don't have anything to give you, because giving you is taking away from what I need, and I need every bit of every emotion that I feel and that I'm going to go through. I have nothing. I have nothing. And I think that sentence is so important, and we really need to think about that, because often I don't do things for a reaction. And there are things that people think that I should care about that I just don't. And I don't, because at the end of the day, does it make a change to my life? If I don't like a situation, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to make steps to change it, or I'm going to remove myself from the situation. What the hell is complaining about it going to do for me? Nothing. I just spent time talking about something instead of finding solutions for it. So I'm just going to find a solution for it, because I'm not going to waste time and energy into something and complain about it, because what's the point? What are the steps that I can take to rectify this situation if I don't like the situation that I'm in? Like, that's how I'm going to spend my energy. So when you come to me and you're bringing something to me and you're not taking those steps, or you expect me to feel what it is that you've lost me. Because just outside of the fact that I'm very clear that I'm emotionally unavailable right now, I'm just a very practical person. And practicality has always worked in my life. Being all emotion and in my feelings and all of that, it's never served me well. Like, if I get all emotional at a job, or take steps because I don't like my coworkers, so I can't work with them, and I don't want to do this big project with them, and I might get a promotion, but oh my God, I don't like her. Nobody cares. Practically, does it work? How do I make this work so that I can get what I want out of this situation? That's how my brain has always worked. So if I apply that to this part of my life to get to where I want to be, why the heck are you going to come to me and try to tap me? Ugh. So then you add the fact that I am going through this journey for the last 15 months of my life of losing my first love and who I thought was going to be my last love, and having to restart my life. I have nothing for you. And I'm not apologizing for it. And I own that. And I really want us to look at when people come into our lives and they own who they are and they tell you what they're about, that if you have made a conscious decision that you want to stick around with that person, don't try to change their mind. Only there is no one who can take me out of this state that I'm in right now and say, well, you know what, if I do enough of this, she'll open up her emotions to me. No, I will not. I will not. I'm going to do this when I am ready to do this. I'm going to do this if I do meet someone, or someone comes into my life, or someone does something that makes me feel like, you know what, girl, you are now safe to be in this space again. Because there's a safety that vulnerability requires. There's a safety that you require to be emotionally available to someone. They need to make you feel safe. I lost my safety with my ex. He made it okay for me to be Toshiba in her truest form. Good, bad, or indifferent. Again, it allowed me to create a show called Fuck Your Feelings. In the best possible way when we talk about fuck your feelings, right? It was him allowing me to be in a space. There was a safety there. There was a great foundation there. So I am not in a space where it just any person gets to just come into my life, and I'm like, yeah, great. Like, let me just give you and it's not that I'm holding on to my ex or the image of my ex, but I also know that that feeling that my ex gave me, that was important. That was important. And I am not willing to tap into someone else if I don't feel that feeling again. Because despite the fuck your feelings, I actually do have genuine feelings, and I want someone to be able to tap into that. And if they can't, then I've got nothing for you. So this is going to be the last part that I read about this article. And you may not agree with all of this. I can tell you that I haven't agreed with all of it, but I think it's something to consider. And again, if you are in a space where you've had loss, because I feel I wasn't clearly emotionally unavailable before my father passed away. I was not emotionally unavailable before my ex and I ended what again was supposed to be our forever. I was very emotionally available. You know, even after my father passed away, I was still emotionally available. Yes, I was grieving, but you know, my ex was my crutch. He was my safe place. He was my safety. He wrapped his arms around me. I felt like the world didn't matter what I was going through. He just allowed me to do that. And now I lost both of those men and both of those feelings. And my dad was my first safe space. And he was gone. And my last love was my final safe space. And now he's gone. And there is no safe space. That's something that I have to create for myself. And until someone is in a space where I can feel that safety again, I have nothing. I have nothing for them. So this is going to be the last thing before we end. And thank you guys, by the way, for sticking with me. Because some of this stuff, let's just be clear, I don't plan anything I have to say. I found this article at like 5 or 6 o'clock today when I decided that this is what I wanted to talk about, just because, you know, I there were some things that happened and I realized that I was in this space and I needed to talk it through. So I appreciate you for sticking with me and for watching this show, because a lot of this I reveal. This show is very much like my therapy. Rob used to say that all the time, like this show was almost like couples therapy for us, and now it's become my own therapy, because honestly my therapist at $145 an hour is kind of expensive right now, but I digress. So the final part of this article is what causes emotional unavailability. So there are likely many causes for emotional unavailability, but much of the research on the topic has focused on attachment styles and the early parent-child relationship. Your first relationship with caregivers may play a key role in emotional intimacy and availability. When caregivers deny affection and emotional support or reprimand the child for emotional expressions, children tend to repeat this pattern in their adult relationships. Those children who don't experience adequate responses to their emotional needs may be more likely to develop an avoidant attachment style, a form of unhealthy attachment. This means that they'll tend to be more independent, physically and emotionally, and have a harder time getting intimate with others or relying on them. I'm just sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Here's another part. Staying emotionally distant serves a self-protective purpose. If you don't have to feel, then I don't have to feel pain. And if I don't feel too close to you, then I'm not particularly vulnerable to having my feelings hurt by you. Avoidant personality disorder, which is different form. No, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so that I'll just end it where I ended it there. And here's to me where I disagree. And just so you know, this article is from a website called Psych Central, so for psychology, and then Central, so PSYCH Central.com, and you can hear about the 5 signs of emotional unavailability. And again, I don't agree with everything that's in that article. Take it for what it is. I definitely don't agree with this concept that emotional unavailability is something that people necessarily carry throughout their entire life. I think people can be emotionally unavailable to one person and very emotionally available to another person. I think it comes down to, and I'm going to speak from my personal opinion, safety. I cannot be emotionally available for people with whom I don't feel safe for. I cannot feel emotional availability for someone who's taxing on my emotions. And so this whole like toxic relationship thing and all of that stuff, I don't know how people do that because that's taxing to me. And if you do that, I'm definitely emotionally unavailable. I have nothing for you. That's just an unhealthy form. So for me, it's tied to safety. It's tied to how taxing, like if you're a woe is me person, if everything bothers you, if you're a person who feels like if you have a conversation with me, you always have to have the last word and you don't listen. And because I'm not argumentative. And so if I start getting any signs that you're that type of person, I just detach because that doesn't work for me. So you can't be not a safe space and then your emotional needs trump mine and then you're taxing on my emotions and then you listen to respond and not understand. Like all of those things for me are signs that I have to detach because I'm not an argumentative person naturally, especially when it comes to a romantic relationship. I already say to myself, like, that's going to be taxing on me. And so I just have to detach from you. And it's just, again, it doesn't mean for me that I'm emotionally unavailable to everyone. It's just that I know myself enough because I have to keep myself safe. That's key. I have to keep myself safe. And therefore, making sure that I am avoiding people who are going to put me in a space where maybe I display attributes or characteristics that's uncharacteristic of me. I'm just like, no, thank you. So I am Toshiba and I am emotionally unavailable. I am going to pray that I am not in this place for longer than God, the universe, and my dead daddy thinks it's necessary. My hope is that I will one day again meet someone where, like I said in my book, No Handouts for Black Girl, I can stand in front of them naked, vulnerable, with my heart in my hand, hoping that they do not drop it. Universe, hear me. But until then, I am in a space where I have got to make sure that I am healthy and whole enough to be able to be someone else's safe space. Because as much as I need my own safety, and that's what I'm working on, I also need to be in a space where I know that I can be someone's safe space, and I'm not right now. I am not able to be anybody's safe space. I can be your sounding board, but I can't give you what you need to be your safe space, and that's tapping into my emotions and allowing myself to be empathetic to things that are taxing of me. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I know I rambled, but again, I am still working these things through in my brain. You know, when I have this show, it's often me being in a space and meditating and realizing like, girl, you need to talk about this. Like I'm moved to talk about something because through my meditation or through my daily life or through something that I read or something that I know someone's going through, I'm like, this is a conversation that needs to be had. And so as I'm having it, I'm walking through it in my brain. But anywho, I appreciate you all. I appreciate you those for watching. Thank you for those on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe. And if you're on Instagram, make sure that you follow. I will see you guys next week. I hope you have a great rest of the week. And I'm looking forward to find out what people are going to be doing for Christmas. Maybe that will be my show next week. Who knows what I will talk about. But I look forward to see you guys next week. And so I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube. And then I'm going to say